Today we put together a number of practical tips and opportunities for businesses and industries enabled by tech that will help solve COVID-19 crisis. Just a brief intro, a little agenda, a brief intro about myself, and then some of the sections that we prepared for you: context, the new normal situation where we find ourselves in, digitalization, not an easy word to say, practical tips and business continuity, opportunities and tech overview, staple examples in innovation, selected industries that we would like to focus in the future to follow up, as we will prepare a number of dedicated events, a Q&A section, and a wrap-up. So a little bit about myself. I'm Edward Lazar, and I'm currently the Telesofta's VP of Business Development. I'm a digital leader with many years experience in software development and product development, spanning across a number of industries. I've held various positions as a CTO, CPO. I'm an entrepreneur, and I've met Algirdas and Telesoftas a number of years ago, and we've been growing in strength ever since. So battling a pandemic requires fast responses, and when today we are faced with such a global challenge, emerging technologies are being deployed and developed. COVID-19 has changed the way we are doing business as we speak, and if your business is taking this event as a crisis, I would challenge that point. I think you need to think of it as an opportunity. Of course, there will be many casualties, but if you are prepared, you can get over anything. This webinar is meant to introduce the opportunities that technology provides to businesses to survive and thrive in the context of this pandemic. So, a little bit about the global context. There is a need for digitalization, digital solutions, and opportunities that emerge from the problems the crisis is posing to us. As entrepreneurs, corporate innovators, and you are seeking new opportunities all the time, and you're very accustomed to detect those opportunities. So, and being completely customer driven, that's a key to your success, often used with resource scarcity, as you had to either launch your startup or now we are facing multiple problems around funding and so on. But above all, we are agile and we are really fast to respond. So in this new normal, much has changed. However, out-the-box thinking, developing new products, solutions, and ways of doing things to drive change, to continue to innovate and to disrupt your own space or new ones, that remains a constant. And that's underpinned by collaboration, and collaboration is one of our core values. Again, this slide is intended to just bring the present into our foremind. And there are many casualties, and that's a sad element. But not long ago, and it's kind of an I told you so moment, none other than Bill Gates at TEDx in 2015, he was presenting the next outbreak. We are not ready. And we are not ready microbes and not missiles. This is what is our challenge today, the invisible killer. So at the time, Bill Gates, through his foundation, they've collected data, they've been tremendous and fundamental to the fight against Ebola and other different eradicating polio. And they've built a model, and that model was based on the 1918 flu. And when they ran that model, the total death was around 33 million over 263 days. So I think our numbers are pretty encouraging, and everything we get as feedback through various channels and through the materials that you will see later in our presentation will give us the hope, and they will cut a clear path towards the opportunities that we have in front of us. So some of the impacts around the online traffic, and this outbreak has put a lot of emphasis onto the online traffic and everything that has to do with internet and e-commerce and grocery deliveries and food and so on. So you can see that media has grown because we're sitting at home. We're being asked to actually sit on the couch rather than go and fight on the front line, something that our grandparents have done. The supermarkets have exploded. They sold probably 1.5 billion pounds in the space of 2 weeks. So you can think of that as Christmas and Easter combined together, and you can imagine what a challenge was from a supply chain perspective. Other industries have taken a knock, and there will be some casualties for sure. Retail, healthcare, telecom have grown, and also there is a tremendous impact on the e-commerce transaction. Supermarkets, yeah, as we know and we feel they've exploded. You are buying most of your stuff online anyway today. Yeah, we are very used to go to Amazon or to go to so many different e-commerce sites and just procure anything that we want, from high fashion to medicine and all the other bits, including DIY, bags of cement and tools. Back in insurance, again, they see to a growth, and marketplace and tech retail has grown tremendously as well. So this is about lives and livelihoods, and we have taken some information from various sources. McKinsey and Oxford is one of them. And here you can see very clearly that, and we get that from our leadership and from our governments and so on, that our fight is to actually flatten the curve. And you hear this term, flatten the curve, suppress the virus as fast as possible. That is supposed to give us a chance to protect our own health systems, NHS in England, and to have an opportunity to find better treatment, drugs and vaccines. And this can happen in many different ways. On the bottom side, the focus is on livelihoods. So there is an impact, and no one will get shy from that. So support people and their businesses and everybody that's affected by these lockdowns and social distancing measures that have been imposed by countries far and wide. And also, we need to take efforts to prepare to recover and to also accelerate that recovery. So what is this new normal? The rulebook has been thrown away on the window. So digitalization is inevitable. We've been talking about this for years, and we used to call it digital transformation, being digital native. There is a need for digital solutions, and they need to be digital first. And they will identify problems that we need to solve and turn them into opportunities during or after the crisis. And as I mentioned before, much has changed. So developing new products and solutions and ways of doing things to drive change and innovation is absolutely fundamental. So how do we do that? We need to advance science. And advancing science is one fundamental thing, because it will help in supporting advancing technology. And advancing technology, for example, 3D printing, you can grow the parts, and we will see examples later on where people have been innovative, at least innovative, if not innovative, and they've made use of everything they had available to solve real life frontline problems. For example, 3D printing various ventilation items. So step up in R&D. Again, this is another important aspect that we need to develop, and all those together, as Bill Gates would have mentioned in 2015, were absolutely fundamental pieces. And this is where we failed, because we failed to bring everything we have together. And I refer to this as we need to innovate first. The guy that put together Ajax, he didn't bring something new. He's combined well-established technologies, but in doing so, he has fundamentally disrupted the web and the way web was going to be perceived and the value that web will bring in the future. So one fundamental innovation that's spanning now 3 decades, more than 3 decades, is mobile. And we can see in this counterpoint graph the journey from 1G to 5G, and the growth 5G is expected to have. And this is fundamental change, because from the moment we had mobiles in our pockets, everything has changed. We can get anything, we can talk to anyone, we can buy our groceries, we can get our Amazon delivered, you name it. We can get our medicines, we can book appointments. Everything is mobile. We've been unshackled by locations, unshackled by offices. Collaboration exploded. Therefore, we can do and focus on innovation and how can we disrupt various industries or verticals by leveraging those capabilities that we've earned. So digitalization, mobile and web, we spoke, they were fundamental to this journey. Virtual worker, the ability to collaborate and communicate anywhere and with anyone, small and big data, and later combined with machine learning and AI, reporting and visualization that bring to life patterns and allow people to take informed decisions. And then augmented reality and virtual reality that have redefined the way we shop. 3D printing and 4D printing now, as we talk about 4D printing. New ways of making do with inventory. And if you can imagine yourself as Jean-Luc Picard sitting on your enterprise office and going to your replicators, I want something. Now we can print it, we can grow it. So I can see this evolving pretty quickly. Some critical tips and practical tips around the business continuity. You have to have a plan, and you need to be covered in those times. You need to make sure that you have all that's needed to make remote working possible, and all that's needed to make staff feel that they are still part of the same organization, as we are not going to visit our offices anytime soon. Depends on who you listen. Business processes. You have to look carefully at your business processes, and you need to make sure that you identify all the key people and deputize those. Create that resilience, and if you need to provide any authorizations and accommodate staff people, make sure that knowledge is being spread around and shared. So be aware of your cash flow, it goes without saying, and having a business continuity and reviewing that is pretty important. Systems and technology are fundamental. So we are using a number of technologies now as we speak. Zoom, Microsoft Teams, Google Hangouts. I mean, I don't have to mention this or teach anyone how to suck eggs, but they are the fabric of how do we operate today and how do we take care of our business as usual challenges. Messaging, make sure that GDPR is being observed and in all concerns are being covered. Employee safety and workplace hygiene, because we will get back. We will come back into our lovely offices, and hopefully it's sometime soon. And considering increasing security. I wasn't going to put this down first, but as we're not going to be around, there are various people out there that aren't scared or afraid of anything. So be prepared. Tech applied COVID-19. So some of the focus industries: MedTech, AI and big data, telco, supply chain and logistics, pharma and EdTech. And we will look to tackle those domains in our follow-up events. Today we'll focus a bit more in depth on MedTech. And MedTech, as I said, this is a strategic space. It's strategic at global level and it's strategic at a country level, regional and local. So that helps all and various organizations to deal and battle with prevention, diagnosis, monitoring and treatment, provide the care either in hospital or home care, as we are being requested to self-isolate, and also can supply us with certifications. We can suddenly have a green light on top of our heads and a bill of health, if you want, and we can go about our business, get back to work, or support the vulnerable in our communities, or offer help where it's needed. This is an infographic depicting those areas of interest, and again, it's a really nice image that I think just condenses everything on one page, and it's from Startup Nation in Israel. And I think, like many other places around the world, and I will switch for a moment to browser. So there is a civic tech hub that has taken the world by storm, and you can see all these countries that have established various hackathons and efforts that will bring innovation and technology at the forefront. And many efforts will graduate from that space into businesses of tomorrow. So back to our PowerPoint presentation. Collaboration between multiple systems and departments is the best way to respond and to deal with challenges. AI and big data. We can't say or do anything today without touching the word AI. And when you say AI, usually you are frowned upon. But it has been proven that it adds a lot of value, and adds a lot of value. Computer vision, for example. Alibaba has used their new AI system, and they can detect in seconds with a 96% accuracy patients that have coronavirus. So you can imagine what is the impact of having such a tool, in your arsenal. The ability to track, the ability to forecast how a pandemic or an epidemic can evolve, the ability to prevent and diagnose or to process various requests that are coming around. Automation, RPA, which is a domain that has exploded in the recent years. Drone delivery and autonomy. A lot of those have to bring with themselves mindful application and implementation, because we are unlocking Pandora's box in some ways, and we have to be careful. So a strategic approach, and this is something that's really close to our hearts, as currently we have an implementation in Lithuania that is ongoing, and we are part of it, and we're quite proud. It's quite a complex system. This will help to diminish the R0, the way the epidemic is being spread through targeted and data-driven testing. So when we do this, we unlock some of the tools that could be abused, and again, I need to emphasize that we're doing this in the most mindful way. That will facilitate a shift towards smart quarantine from current countrywide lockdown that is bringing a lot of our fundamental systems to a halt. It can also dramatically decrease the negative economic impact. And it goes without saying that being able to protect and prevent is quite important. The solution that I'm talking about is also GDPR compliant, is based on an opt-in consent, allows clinical tracing, and with some mobile apps that can run on everybody's mobile, you can have anonymous opt-in for Bluetooth proximity. And that in itself would lead to fast prevention and tracing of a potential infected person, and who do we need to contact? How do we need to go about to detect every single person or place that they've been in contact with, and to contact those to help them take all the required measures. A very high level diagram of the solution that involves quite complicated systems, banks, EPOS systems, mobile carriers, predictive engines, AI and ML, Palantir in this case, and geo-visualization through ArcGIS, and the heart of the system that can churn all that data and deal with proximity prevention and protection, and all this into a GDPR compliant secure data hub. And you can imagine the level of security and the level of cyber hygiene and the level of authorizations that we need to observe all the time. For example, getting all the locations from mobile phones, for example, or from banks or from EPOS systems, and being able to deal with those and then trace those particular people that may be infected. Some heroic examples of applied technology and innovation. Goes without saying, this has been trending on Twitter, but the ability to print a very much needed valve that in Italy hospitals have run out of was fundamental to saving lives. And this is a real thing. I mean, right on the front line. The prototype was done in days, and very quickly it was approved over a successful trial test on patients. And this is coming out in many other parts. In UK, we also have a number of efforts that you will see shortly. For example, F1 Mercedes produced in 4 days the first continuous positive airway pressure. And why is this important? Because the most effective way to ventilate, for example, patients is with mechanical ventilators, as they don't have the ability to actually breathe and get the air in. So it has to be pumped in. And this is a very cost-effective device that can be applied on most of the MedTech existing. But the most important thing is that you don't have to be hooked up onto a ventilator, because the air will be pumped into the ill person. Another effort with a slightly different approach, but aimed to consuming off-the-shelf components and equipment, has been led by King's College with Oxford professors. So multiple examples that we don't have a lot of time today to cover all of them extensively, but we can, in the follow-up specific events, we can go and dive deeper. Antibody tests. How will that reality look when you know who's had the virus, who hasn't had the virus, and what can you do? Suddenly you can get on with your life, and those inexpensive tests will be fundamentally welcome into the community. Antibody test versus the antigen test, which will detect if you had the virus. That's what UK tries to scale up to about 25,000 tests a day from the 7,000 currently. Is an effort that's been carried out with a team in China. Blue Dot, they've predicted very early on, using their own and their AI algorithms, that we are going to face a new pandemic. And they've notified days before World Health Organization released a statement. Communication is changing. And we talk about 5G today, but what about beyond 5G? So terabits per second are being tested at the moment, and you can imagine what sort of capabilities they will unlock for us in the future. VR will become the norm. Autonomous vehicles everywhere. It just opens a wide range of possibilities and innovation. So up and coming events, aside from MedTech, and we only scratch the surface literally today through a few examples. There are so many others of innovative application, communities coming together and building various applications and tools to help them to deliver grocery, to take care of the next door neighbor, to help in dealing with fake news, for example. Yeah, that's quite important into trying to have a sane community around you. AI and big data, we will dive deeper. Telco, supply chain, that's been fundamental to the good functioning of a society, our food and essentials to be available for us. Pharma, that has a really big role to play. And EdTech, all our schools are being closed. So all the children are studying remotely, all their workload is being delivered, and everything they need to do is done in a digital fashion. So as we were talking about now a number of years, digitalization is coming and is coming. Digitalization is here now. And this is what we have. You can imagine not having internet, not having 5G, not having mobile, not having all those technologies, Zoom, YouTube, Facebook, WhatsApp, Slack. It would have been impossible to deal with such an event. We also need to find some balance. So we are pulling the genie out the bottle through some very powerful solutions that we are putting together, and we need to make sure that we strike a balance. It's not one surveillance state we are creating now will outlast coronavirus, and I don't want to be on the negative side, but we need to be very careful and be very strong on how do we ethically use this technology under the rule of law, and do we preserve our basic human rights. And that is very, very important. So telco, with the up and coming telco, we will cover 5G, tracking and proximity, prevent and protect, connect and advise, and the ability to inform through SMS and MMS. The same technology that in its most crude form has driven innovation in Africa through M-Pesa or banking systems, and that was not done through digital systems. Small and big data, machine learning in our AI and big data event, how that supports predictions and why does it need to be adaptive, because you can't have an AI if it's not adaptive. How AI helps with identifying, tracking and forecasting various things. In this case, we talk about a pandemic, process claims and all sorts of automation, autonomous vehicles and advanced robotics. Because right now, you can imagine that robots are in their element. They can be easily sterilized with UV, and they can take care of food, delivering food and cleaning and all sorts of other chores that we need to do. And we are not capable as we are bedridden with the illness. Supply chain, this is the backbone. This is the backbone that we will have to dive really deep, as it keeps our society sane. You can produce and you can consume in a mindful way without panic buying, without uncertainty. But very important for that is a realistic forecast for a base demand and the ability to have inventory visibility, which is still a huge problem today. Pharma. The future of pharma is quite bright. It's a sector that will explode, and not just through the impact it can have through digital health and digital medicine. The fact that you'll be able to safely receive your medication at home, something that has to happen today. For example, chatbots dealing with various long-term diseases like diabetes, and pharma is a critical industry that undergoes, I think it's just started to undergo massive transformation. EdTech is being tested today, and it works. It really, really works. I see it every day with my own children through their extracurriculum activities, and it makes an impact. And there are many ways we can make it better, but it's already delivering huge value for our society and for our communities. changes life. We have to accept that everything and every single change ahead of us opens a realm of possibilities and opportunities. So we need to be prepared and we need to stay positive, because we have all the tools that we need, plus our imagination, plus our desire to create new products and innovate, and that will see us through. So I invite all of you in these difficult times to look at this as an opportunity, and how we can convert that. We need to really care about our customers, and we need to be fast, collaborative, and to respond quickly. Speed is really, really, really at home today. I remember one quote years ago. One Ferrari was getting from 0 to 60 in 7 seconds. This is the same speed a Ford has today. So and the Ferrari of today is 2 seconds. So you can see in your mind that there is a world out there, and the speed is really, really important, and I want to embrace and be on that rocket that will take us where we need to be, fast but safe. So it is possible to do more with less as well. So this is our question sections, and our very busy helpers with Monte, that's dealing with the questions and comments. Hopefully, so we have a question. Will there be a saved version of this webinar so we can rewatch it later? By Jonathan Opsommer. Yes, of course. And we will also share the material with you as a thank you for attending to our webinar. Gonzalo Salgado. I wonder how can company adopt these technologies, implement them in their business model, and still be on time to market? This is a really good question, Gonzalo. So and that's without shameful plug. That's what we do in our daily life. We've operated in all those domains, and we brought to life solutions, and it's about applied speed and applied innovation with tangible results. Yeah, and in some ways is taken away all the fluff around technologies, making use of what really works and how you can combine existing established systems to drive value and get to that value really quick. That's always fundamental to the success of a business. I'm not sure if we have many other questions there. I think we are ahead of time, and we have a bit more to either take some comments or to answer some other questions. What do you think of the pet tech these days? Pet tech was emphasized recently. Many people have been ill and they were not able to travel or to take care of their pets. And there are a number of opportunities to develop businesses and startups that will cater for the needs of our pets, from walking, caring, informing, communicating their. Excuse me, I'm just looking on some of those comments and questions that are coming through. So Jonathan Opsommer, another question. With the COVID-19 virus being a huge impact on the general health, how will the adoption of 5G be affected, since there is many data out there that are suggesting it does affect the body in bad ways, genetically? Thank you for this question, Jonathan. This is a nice segue into one statement. I can't remember the name of the scientist, the professor, that every time there was a pandemic around the world, there was a fundamental change or a leap forward. And I think around 1918, electricity was the culprit, and electricity became widely available, and there you have it. We had a flu pandemic, and you could probably say the same thing as Wuhan in Hubei province is the first city that has benefited from wide 5G coverage. So I don't have all the data, but we'll make sure that we'll take this point and bring you some valued, verified facts around the impact of 5G to the humans. For sure, for many years, people complain about Wi-Fi, yeah, and their positive or negative, their rather negative impact on our health. So, is Bluetooth a reliable tool enough to guarantee proper tracking? Most of the people are not having their Bluetooth setting up. Emilia, could you do? I think Bluetooth is reliable to provide added resolution to the tracking if you want. In some cases, I know of a company that is using Bluetooth to track its passengers. Is a taxi sharing company, and they rely on that to make sure that people are together and they travel together, and that's how they determine which passengers have shared which car. So I think there is always place to improvement, but it's a really good tool for proximity, in close proximity. I don't know if we have any other questions, or are we good to wrap up? So, just a quick plug-in for Telesoftas. We're an innovation house, and we've been founded, our founder and CEO, Algirdas Stonis, is a well-known entrepreneur in the Baltics and way beyond the Baltics borders. We're driven by mastery, collaboration, and we strongly believe, if you go to our website, there's an amazing, awesome video, that if one person has done something, progress is for everyone. So please contact me if you have any questions, or if you would like to discuss how you can implement innovative or change-driven systems that can jolt your business into a new space. I'll be very happy to discuss. Thank you very much for tuning in and for listening, and look forward to seeing you on our future events. Thank you.